Hey, Commander, what are you doing over there?
Hey, George, what are you doing?
I saw your truck outside, so I figured I'd
Oh,
pay a visit.
yeah, I practically live here. You know, I was just working with some of my former interpreters and guards, trying to look at different ways for them to get out of Afghanistan. So I remembered, oh, I got a bunch of maps at the post.
Hey, wait a minute. Where are they at? Oh, right here. They're here, correct?
Yep, that's it. They're in the city of Kabul, which also happens to be in the province of Kabul.
Now,
Uh,
that's all secured by the Taliban, correct?
the Taliban control it all.
So
right
how
now.
are these people going to get out?
Well, one of the things that we're trying to work is we're trying to get them either by bus or by car, you know, out to some areas further to the Tajikistan or Turkmenistan border. Although we've heard that there's some good results going to the Pakistani border. And, you know, and I'm sure the Taliban know all this, otherwise we wouldn't be talking about it, you know.
Right. Hey, wait a minute. You served out here, didn't you?
Yeah, I was out there for 364 days, boots on the ground.
Ooh.
You know, but let me tell you something. They were some of the best people I ever worked with.
I bet.
You know, as a people, they were just amazing human beings. They were great artisans. I mean, check that out. I just found that.
Yeah, that's
in
pretty
the
cool. I
maps.
was going to ask you about
I
that.
mean, this George, this is one of my interpreters. His name was Abdullah Monan, and you see he signed it for me there in 2005. And it's made with a hot poker, so it's actually burnt. It's don't touch. It's actually burnt. It's not drawn or painted. This is actually burnt. And in this particular case, it happens to be Buzkashi, which is their national sport. Basically, it's kind of like playing water polo, except or it's basically like playing polo, except instead of using a ball, they actually use like a dead goat. Hey, you know, and here's the goat here, you know. So I don't question. They seem to have a lot of fun with it, so it was kind of fun to watch.
I might have to look that up.
Yeah, Buzkushi. Very, very fun. It's their national sport. But you know, it's who they are. They're rugged horsemen. They're rugged individuals, you know. Mountain people, yeah.
So where were you stationed at?
Well, I spent most of my time right there in Kabul, but my duties took me pretty much all over Afghanistan. I spent some time in Kandahar, and then of course, you know, Bagram, which keeps coming up in the news, which probably the base we should have never let go was Bagram.
Where's that at?
Well, Bagram is up right about here near Bazraka. Okay, and it's in the Panjshir Valley, which is traditionally the place that has had the most resistance. So when the Russians got their ass kicked, that's where they got their ass kicked when they finally left, was Bagram Air Base. And the thing is, when you look at where Bagram Air Base is, so here's a topographical relief, right? So here's the Hindu Kush, which are the mountains that separate Afghanistan from Pakistan, sort of. All right, and then here's China. So when you look at the Hindu Kush, okay, the Bagram Air Base is right about here. So it's literally surrounded by mountains, but then you have almost a desert area, which you could see everything coming from every direction. As opposed to Kabul, which is like being in the middle of the city of Chicago, kind of like if you can picture Midway Airport, that's Kabul. It's got residents on every side of your airport. So when you sit there and you say, oh, you know, we're going to try and defend Kabul Airport, totally a bad choice in my opinion, you know, because Bagram was kind of more like being at O'Hare, where you have a lot more room and you can see everything coming to you and everything that's leaving from you. So really the difference is kind of like if you were going to make a stand, or if you were going to use a base, would you use Midway in the middle of the city, or would you use O'Hare, which has plenty of room around it? I would use O'Hare, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of the difference. But in working with some of my interpreters and some of my former force protection guards, they're trying to make their way to the northern border, because Pakistan, as we know through history, you know, they've never been 100% totally legit with us all the time. And as we know, that's where the Taliban were constantly gaining their strength, and that's where they came from, was out of Pakistan. So what I'm doing is I'm working with them and trying to get them to safe areas I won't point out where, but in some of the northern towns. And if you look, I mean, you can see in the map where some of the northern towns are. And then from there, crossing over into some of the more tolerant nations, you know, you have Tajikistan, you have Turkmenistan. As of right now, Intel seems to be avoiding Uzbekistan. They're kind of as nutty as the Taliban. So we're trying to make sure that they don't go into Uzbekistan. China, well, we know China says, oh yeah, we're their new best friends. And I actually saw in the news today that they might actually be taking over Bagram Air Base. The Chinese might actually be taking over Bagram Air Base. Just a damn shame.
I saw you holding that.
Yeah, you know, this is kind of like what, you know, why sometimes I can't sleep at night. This is actually a letter which was sent to one of my former force protection guards. And it's actually addressed to his family because he passed away 10 months ago. They poisoned him. Okay?
Wow.
So the letter basically says, we know what you've done. We know that your family has worked with the Americans in the West. And if you don't join the Mujahideen and show us that you want to be part of us, you and your whole family will be killed. And that's what these people are facing. That's what these Afghans that are still out there, many of them who are American citizens, because it's their home, it's where their families were. So although they became American citizens, a lot of them, you know, they stayed in Afghanistan to try and make Afghanistan better. So, but anyway, yeah, George, I mean, that's kind of like where we're at. Hopefully things will get better. You know, there's some good news that comes out every so often. And all we can do is hope for the best. We have many good American former military that are out there right now operating, and everybody knows it. So I'm not disclosing any information that nobody knows. And they're doing what they got to do to help save those that we should have never left behind. You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we'll talk more about it another time. All right.
Yes.
So good seeing you, George.
Good to see you.
Awesome.
Awesome.